Nick, what's up?
What's up?
I just felt like I wanted to come in super hot and see if I could startle you.
Yeah, for a second there, I was like checking chat out, and I was like,
see.
"We're gonna go on in like 2 seconds."
Yep.
I know this.
I saw you look away for half a second, and I thought I could catch you.
Nope, not today, my friend, because I've got to be razor sharp.
That's true. You do need to be razor sharp today. Today's a very special day, and I know I say that like every time, but I feel like we've been doing a lot of really fun kind of one-off episodes.
Totally different too, yeah.
And you know, chat, that it's a special day when instead of me talking to you over there, I talk to you over here, because that means that something special's on that screen, which is what's happening today. Nick, do you want to give an overview? Actually, Nick, give an overview of what the show is, where we are, all that stuff before we get started today.
Just in case you're new to us, because we've been seeing some new faces every week.
Yes.
And it's so good to see you guys join us. We're here every Friday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time on Adobe Live. And we started this out about a year ago, just giving you guys an extra spot to come and hang, learn some new things about creativity, design, branding, everything about the apps, and just how to be a better creative. And this has been, we just celebrated our first year. We are hot into kind of like the portfolio thing again right now because it is so strong with a lot of students out there right now. Tonight's our big gala where the students get to show off everything that they've been working on for 2 years. So, and that's going on everywhere. So that was kind of our goal. It's been great so far, man. This has been amazing.
Yeah, this is a fun one. So coming up next week, very, very special episode. You all have asked for it a million times. We're doing portfolio reviews. We are doing an entire episode. We've incorporated them here and there into episodes. We are doing a full episode of portfolio reviews, which will be super fun. In 2 weeks, we're having a very, very, very special episode. It's a first. It's an office hours first.
What could that possibly be?
I can't talk about what it was or what it is or what's happening, but we'll get there. Then after that, we are starting up with summer camp, which is going to be super fun. So we're starting out summer camp at the beginning of the month next month.
Yeah.
And Nick, we said today is a special day. What are we doing today? What's today's episode?
You know, we promised everybody out there we'd have a day where we would like kind of just go chin to chin on our portfolios and our websites and our perception and everything we're putting out there. And it could not come at a better time. We talked about this the other day and we were like, what's the value for you guys other than just seeing us have fun with each other and do stuff about each other's websites? But the idea here is to even question yourself. What is the perception you're putting out there of your website, of your Behance page, and does it match the work you want to do, and is it clearly communicating to a potential client or job?
Yep. So we are going head to head with portfolios, but more than that, right? We've looked at work, and Nick and I have like ripped each other's work before. But what we're going to do today is try to figure out each other's perception, right? I think that it's something really important in the industry is how people perceive you is their reality, right? Our perception of a situation is what reality is to us. And so the format for today is going to be a little bit different. We are going to have, Nick, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? Okay.
I can go first.
So what we're going to do is I am going to take a look at Nick, and not just his work and not just his portfolio. I am looking at the holistic look of the idea of Nick, and I'm going to give him kind of feedback and give him what my perception is of what he's putting out as a business, as a creative, as a designer. Then he's going to do the same for me, and then we are going to present ourselves as if we were being hired by a person and seeing if those perceptions match up. I think that that's something that a lot of you that are going to job interviews, that are going to internships, and Nick, we've done a lot of these kind of critiques to where we say, you know, I don't understand who you are in your work, but then we talk and I totally get it. And so today we're going to try to fix that up. Have you ever struggled or had trouble kind of matching those up? I know you have like a recent story of something that happened, right?
Yeah, and it, again, too, let's just be clear that I think the perception we're talking about is going to be in the eyes of a non-creative, someone who's going to hire us or hire us for a job, hire us whatever. So you've got to think of a person who maybe doesn't live in our industry as much as maybe we do. So you want their perception to be exactly what you hope is you're putting out there, right?
Yep.
So recently I just had an issue where I found that a potential onboarding of a client, they said to me they thought my work was far too complex and I couldn't do something in a minimal, clean aesthetic. And I was like, and it's in industries that I am currently in, but I wondered where was the disconnect there. So I just questioned everything and went, am I putting out the entire wrong identity? And where did I go wrong?
Yep.
That was basically it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times our internal look at ourselves is very curated, right? Because we understand what we want to put off and how we want to be perceived. But then on the other side, it sometimes doesn't match up, right? And that happens all the time when I put out like weird work or I put out personal projects. I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to love this so much. They're going to be so into it and like engage or whatever. And then it doesn't hit and nothing falls. And I'm like, oh, I think my perception and my expectations are very different than like what other people's would be about this. So today we're going to be learning to kind of manage that. So for you at home, your takeaway for today, if you're taking notes, if you're trying to track along, is to kind of track along as we talk and as we present ourselves. And then as we look to kind of gain what we are perceiving about the other person, right? This is a great thing to do with a family member, with a friend, or maybe we'll have homework at the end of the episode that will help you with this.
Yeah,
stick around.
We have a little idea. We haven't worked it out yet, but
little exercise,
fun idea for that. Because you know, look at, and as we're going through this, ask yourself those same questions. Look at your work, look at what you're doing. But even while we're setting this up and probably diving in a few seconds, if you want to throw in a one-liner in chat that says who you are as a creative for hire, maybe that's the best way to say it. So if it's a private job, if it's a freelance job or a contracted job, whatever it could be, what is the perception of your creative taste, objective, you name it.
And today we're not doing the portfolio reviews, but if you want to give us that one sentence pitch and then a link to whatever you want us to look at,
we might.
Just know today, if we get to those, we are going to be like brutally honest on those. And so if you pitch something and you're like, oh, this is what I do, and we open the link and we don't think so, we're going to tell you because it's really helpful to have that outside perception. And so we're going to try not to be mean, but we all know that Andrew gets a little bit spicy sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I see Liv has already put hers in there for today. So Liv, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, Liv, drop in our Discord. Oh, which we haven't even talked about it. Our Discord, right? Oh man, my camera is inverted. Okay, there we go. Yeah, right here, go to our Discord. And our Discord looks like this. We're hanging out in here. We can see our friend Liv just put her link in there. And one of my favorite things, and I wish that I like wasn't hosting the show so that I could be a part of the voice chat because I love the idea of having a voice chat that you can hang out and talk about the show as it's happening. So there is a classroom chat right over here. And again, the link's on the screen. You can go there. And the classroom chat right here, jump into the voice channel, say hi, make a new friend, and you guys can talk and hang out during the show, which is super fun. Also, if you're on YouTube, you're in the wrong place. Come over to Behance, be.net/live, and join our chat. There's an awesome community that is thriving here. Or just go hop over onto Discord. The link is right there for you.
Yeah.
All right. I think
I haven't seen many elevator pitches yet in the old chat there. So take a moment, write that one sentence down, how you hope you are being perceived by your web presence and everything you have online.
Yes, elevator hit us.
There you go.
I did. I think I did portfolio reviews for you, Nick. And I actually set my Zoom background to an elevator, and they would come in, and I'd be like, "All right, go," and they'd be like, "Oh, elevator pitch."
It's perfect.
All right.
Love it.
Good to see. There's so many familiar faces here. Great to see you guys. Let's go ahead and hop over, and I'm going to start with you, Nick. I am just going to look and kind of say out loud all the things that I'm seeing, that I'm thinking, that I'm perceiving about you. And of course, we're going to start here with the Google. I just start with Nick Longo, and thankfully, you come up as the number one. You're right there. You're the number one and the number three with your LinkedIn, which I know is a big thing for you. There is another Nick Longo. The theory is that you have ideas. Ideology is the idea has you. Wow.
Yes.
He's a thinker.
He was heavy into the JavaScript world back in the day. I remember every time I would search, I'm like, I think he had the domain name or something.
Cool. So coming in here, Nick Longo, Los Angeles branding and graphic design. So for me, I'm like, cool. Oh man, he's in LA. That must be cool. Like he must have like all the things together. And then, okay, he has the graphic design, right? So we're going to click through onto the site. Immediately the vibe that I get is very masculine. It feels high end. I don't know if it feels approachable. Which I don't know if that's like something that we need, but I think that it feels very buttoned and very comprehensive. Like it's a wide amount of work, and I love that there's like this big splash. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm getting that he does a lot of stuff. He's very talented at like 3D render. He seems like he just does packaging stuff, and he likes kind of this like older style. Coming down here, the overlay with the video in the background to me is like, ooh, he's like agency zone. Like, oh man, he's got a little more like high end whatever. And I think, yeah, the color scheme, Cody says the same, that I think the color scheme, just feels very masculine to me.
Okay, cool.
So continuing to scroll, let's see here. More images. I'm like, okay, he's done a lot of work. It seems like it does a lot of packaging, but then there's some other things in here, and they definitely
sprinkled in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they definitely feel like, okay, cool. He probably does packaging, and then like other little things. So like, I would want to hire you for packaging, and then I want to talk to you about doing other stuff.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense. Like, I would look at the site and see the stuff, see what's happening here, and be like, oh man, my perception of him is that just like, boom, he does packaging, but then also maybe he does other stuff. But I would hire him on the spot for packaging, but I would also like have a conversation otherwise.
Cool.
He's trustworthy. He's got some names on here. I don't know who any of these logos are, but I don't really care. It just feels like, oh yeah, he's got people. He's got people. I need my people.
Strive for people
to talk to his people.
Yes.
More images down here. Oh, look at that, Nick. Okay, and then to get in touch. This, like the land of the get in touch to me feels so like landed. Like as I scroll the whole page, when I get here, it feels landed. And my perception is like, oh, he knows that he wants to get in touch with me. Like he is eager to like have a conversation, I think. And then looking deeper into the podcast and stuff, I'm like, oh man, he has like more things that he does, and he's kind of a big deal that he has like a podcast and speaking engagements and like teaches classes to me, and not being like, oh, Nick's a big deal, but I'm like, oh man, he feels like he's a big deal.
Okay.
So immediately on website, we'll come back to this and I'll jump a little bit further into it, but continuing on, let's go over to your Instagram. This is something that's a little more casual, right? That wouldn't be website, wouldn't be Behance. Coming over here, I'm like, okay, cool. He's got some people. He's got some people following him. He's a speaker and a podcaster. Okay, cool. So I think that almost, to me, the perception is interesting because I see design instructor, podcaster, speaker, and I'm like, okay, cool. So he like does stuff. And then I see brand builder and I'm like, oh, he can actually like do stuff.
Good.
Oh, I would love an Aussie pie too. Sorry, chat got me distracted with food again.
Yeah. They are delicious.
Freaking when chat starts talking about food, like the whole episode goes out the window. Gosh, y'all are insane. Okay, so looking at your Instagram, so come down here. It feels very curated to me. Again, it hits very masculine right off the bat. Also, I'm scrolling my screen, so you totally don't have to scroll for me.
Should I be doing? They're seeing my screen, not your screen.
They're seeing my screen.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, and I've known it the whole time. I've been watching Nick try to follow along with what I'm talking about on the monitor, and I couldn't find the time to be like,
screen?
Nick, you don't need to do this. We're gonna switch over to your screen. When you do mine, we'll switch over.
I gotcha.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Dude,
it does feel very grounded, very curated. I like that we have the threes going on. So this to me feels like, oh, he is very intentional with what he does. Seeing the Adobe Live thing up there among your work, I think to me is like, oh, he doesn't just say that he's a podcaster and whatever. It's like, oh shoot, he actually like does this stuff. Like he's a speaker. Like he backs it up.
Gotcha.
All right, let's do just a hard scroll. Oh, canceled con. Okay, so as I hard scroll, I'm like, okay, cool. So at one point, he was very curated, and then it kind of fell out at one point, and then he started to get it together. And so to me, the perception of that, I think, I actually like that.
That was called the year 2020.
Yes, this is a complete side note.
I gave up on daily random. That's for stories.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. I hired someone to archive my entire Instagram so that I could like fully curate it. Okay, so yeah, I think that to me that's kind of cool because it shows like, oh man, look at the progress he made. And I think that there's a jump between work that I'm kind of like, okay, cool, yeah, he can do some stuff. Like, this is kind of
Yeah.
good. And then it hits me with the TUI's stuff. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, shoot. And then it hits shock a lot. And I'm like, okay, this guy's got his stuff together. And so,
So it feels more not only curated, but more purposeful maybe up when it becomes more of a focused on that.
yeah, and I think my perception of you is very much like, oh, he's like hitting it hard right now. Like, he's very intentional. Like, he's going to put that kind of care into the project that I am about to give him. Again, I definitely feel like I'm like, cool, he does packaging. Like you could pitch me on anything and try to convince me otherwise, but I'm like, he does packaging, period. That's the end of that sentence of what my perception would be of you. All right, so continuing on, let's hop over to your Behance.
Sure.
Also, I got a dark mode plugin that just takes all the whites and takes them down to darks, and it is magic for Chrome.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
that
so
never seen that
right?
before.
Landing on Behance, to me, this like knocked you down in credibility.
Okay.
I think there's something about it that doesn't feel as refined and settled and like masculine and like resolved as everything else that we've seen. It felt like everything was very just like one voice, and this feels like a different voice.
Interesting. Anything specific that's doing it? Is it? I mean, obviously, you have your architecture here to build off of.
This isn't the right Behance.
What do you mean?
I don't think this is the right Behance. I think I'm looking at an old Behance or another Behance.
Oh,
let me see.
You probably
2016. This is not. Yeah.
Oh no.
This is not. Interesting.
No, it's just
okay.
It's just,
well, there's two of them.
It's just Longo.
Okay.
I think you might have one that was in Longo.
Longo.
Oh yeah. Well, wait. What do you?
Behance.net/Longo. Nick Longo.
I think you're looking at the right. Oh no.
I was for sure looking at.
It should be my picture.
Yep. All right. Let me go back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I don't think I don't have a portfolio set to it.
Yep.
I just have Behance.
Strike on perception. All right, Nick Longo, and it's funny because I know that I have the same. I have another one somewhere that sucks because like somebody could stumble upon it and then be like, oh shoot, it just happened with you. That it's like, wow, his website's amazing, all his work is amazing, and then I find this Behance and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
That's weird.
That's interesting.
So did you find it yet?
I got it. Yes.
You want me to?
Yes,
okay,
got it.
Perfect.
It is Behance.net/Longo. Okay, so
Perfect.
So landing here, I definitely feel like this is more resolved.
Okay.
My perception here is like, oh shoot, he's like a designer's designer. Like he's not just like the agency guy. Like to me, this feels like, oh, he is doing this and he's presenting this and he's very intentional with what he does. I think across the board, intentionality is something that I'm seeing a lot that's kind of resonating as something that I perceive about you. That I'm like, man, everything feels so precise and intentional.
And this has a lot, obviously the website keeps the top that you really want to have. Behance is for like, if I need to send a client to something and say, oh, wait, we have done something like that. I use a project from the Behance world.
Yep. And as we scroll down, again, it drops off hard as you scroll down on this. Like really hard. There's a ton of really, really great work. And then all of a sudden it hits like, oh.
Yeah. So you're thinking that stuff should just be hidden.
100%. Yeah. And I think that the intentionality that I see, and again, that's something that's like my perception is so keen on the idea of intentionality. I think seeing the way that you've done all of your cards, having that specific white text over the image, and then when that drops, like the second that's not the thing on the head on the preview, I'm like, oh, it's student work now. And I'm like, I don't even know if I click into it, it's probably great, but it immediately goes to, oh, it's different and it's something that like is not a part of this system that he's kind of created.
Yeah. And I think that just goes in time because you're like, you think of things to make it better and more appealing, but what you're not considering is what's before that and previous, and what did that actually, does it now clash?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. hopping over to LinkedIn, you look super professional. You look like I should hire you for things. Creative executive, product branding, manufacturing specialist, design professor, and podcast host. You got it all. He's got some featured posts here for office hours. You feel very credible. So I think the overall, my summation of my perception of Nick Longo is that he's very intentional. He does packaging. That his work's very masculine. And that he's very credible and notable, and that like I should think that you're a big deal. That if I was an employer, I would definitely perceive you as like, oh, I need to send him like a formal email and not just like, hey dude, what's up? I'm working on a project. Love to have you on board. That'd be like, okay, hello, Mr. Longo. I would like
characteristic.
It definitely feels like you are super high end. And I think what did I say at the beginning? That I didn't feel like it was like approachable, or I felt like it was like a little overwhelming, daunting, or whatever.
Yeah, you had a great thing that was up front that was, I can't remember what it exactly.
Yeah, that idea of like that it was like very. Yeah, I think that is in the perception a good thing and a bad thing, because that's what I'm getting the feeling of. Oh, I need to address him as like Mr. Longo in an email. Is that it's like, oh, it doesn't feel approachable. It feels like really intense, and so maybe I need to approach it in a different way.
And I think that's very intentional. I'll tell you, because
chat's gonna call you Mr. Longo forever.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Bring it on, guys. Bring it on. Professor Longo, please.
Yes.
The intention there was, for many years, everything I had prior to building up quite a case study of what Longo Designs can do was very kid-oriented. It was all toy. It was all very animated. And so, to me, I had to make that forced feel to say, like, I need to show class. I need to show consistency. I need to show like just maturity in my presence.
It feels
of everything
very mature. Yes. Perception, very mature. Yes.
Yeah. Now, where could with all of that, and I think this was the question.
Detective Longo, chat, you need to calm down. This is warning number one.
Yeah, Dr. Longo is great.
You need to calm down.
Reminds me of Dr. Nick Riviera on Simpsons.
Sorry, continue.
My question, and then you could probably ask the same when we swap the roles here, is with all that said, what would the prescription be? What things can I inject in here to help balance?
Yeah, I think let's continue on and then maybe do our elevator pitches. So have you take a look at my stuff, my perception. Then we'll do elevator pitches of how we would present ourselves and see if they match up. Because I don't think that they actually are on either of us. And so we'll see if they match up with what the perception actually is, and then maybe some things to cater more to what we want our elevator pitch to be.
Perfect.
All right,
that sounds great. So
let's go ahead and do a quick check over on Discord. It looks like there are some people tossing things into Discord. I talked too slow. So we may get we may get time, and we may come back to these next week during portfolio reviews, which would be fun. We'll just do both sides of that. Hi voice chat. Okay. All right. Go jump in voice chat if you guys want to, right down here. All right, Nick, we're going to hop over to your screen. Yes. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to literally die inside. So as I do that, you can go ahead and take over.
Are we ready? Okay. So is this the place where is this where Hoch.co begins?
That's for you to perceive. If you're landing wherever, this is your job. Take the journey.
So if I was coming in fresh, that's how we're doing this, right? We're coming in fresh. I got your URL, your website from someone, and I'm looking to hire you for something. So I like that. For me, I'm first seeing personality in your Hoch.co, and I see that you're playing off your name. I like this idea. I like the humor behind it. The recharging and the exclamation point is kind of as simple as it is. I think it's just grabbing some attention, which I really like. The next thing, even though its priority isn't that heavy on your page, I do see branding deck and editorial deck first, which is great. And I think it's just because of, let's just say, hierarchy in the order there. So it tells me right there, split personality, split perception, right? Because you are presenting yourself in two different ways. and you're very intentional with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, but then I think what I see is the other projects. I wonder if that to me might get confusing, because I'm seeing a lot of things I know I can click on and get there. My fear would be like, is it going to take me to another place and I'm just trying to find out more about you? Well, so I think in one way, would it be better to have the split kind of room to just say, maybe it's 3 quadrants and it's like branding, editorial, and it's like, and when you have time, if you want to check out more, it could be the bottom area. So that would be kind of my first thought. But I do like, this feels to me like I want to click and find something new, because I know there's something in store. You know what I mean? So should we do the branding deck first?
Wherever you want to go. I'm also taking notes on Post-it notes, because you're actually saying great things for me.
Great. All right, cool. So we're going to go in here. So perfect. So you are making it you have Google Slides as your stuff, correct?
Yes.
Great. I know I'm asking probably too many questions and not talking too much, but what's the perception of this been like with people?
Actually really good.
Good, because I love this.
The response has been really good, yeah.
And I could do this, and now I can go and see what I've got here. Okay, so I think you go right into it, right? We're talking brand, we're talking applications. Cool, more stuff here. Great little interaction. So I wonder, like, would it be better to have more of this information on page 1, where it's like introducing Rogo, and then go into a lot of that fun stuff? Now we've got debrand. All right, cool, perfect. So I would say we get into, as long as whatever that particular path is, I love this slide as like this, whoa, obviously new chapter, right, from here. So I love that. And then same idea, maybe this, you have this on the page 1, right? I wonder too if you're overloading me with stuff before I've even found out what the actual objective is. You're telling me templates, you're telling me logo treatment. I love these little bingo cards. Like, I'm like, what are those? Maybe it's too soon. So then we get into here. Oh, and it is the same client, Rogo?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So there's a little confusion there, because I thought we were in a whole new world, and our buddy Rogo shows up in a different logo.
So, yeah, side brand.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. So now, the fact that you're doing the decks is great, because I think as well you can share these so easily, and that's fantastic. But maybe having a case study scroll would give you a chance to tell that story maybe a little clearer, I think. Cool. So now we get in here. I'm assuming, because color change, we're into a whole other brand. This is a new project, but I'm seeing Sandals Youth, and I think I saw that
another brand
Friday.
variant.
Okay, another variation. Perfect. This is pure fun. Like, I think these are the things that make a memorable, what I might look at and go, oh, I love that idea. Cool idea with the poster and the clip and everything. But seeing it come to life in animation, static like this, on a page, I love. This is really fun. That's kind of a cool one. I'm going to remember those faces. Like, to me, I think that works. Here's another one. Okay, so now, are we in another project?
Yes.
Okay, so we need some chapter pages here. I love everything that's happening on the right and the bottom. Like, I guess you're showing that was the initial sketch there in there. Again, I feel like you are making something to fit on a slide, and it doesn't have the freedom to move as you scroll. So maybe seeing it all on one slide is really kind of like crazy. But I'm getting a feel now of who you are as a designer, and I'm seeing collage. I'm seeing kind of like this risk-taking vibe, which I love seeing. And I love where you have like things where the highlighting things are going here, the randomness of some of the croppings we saw and some of the other stuff. But all of a sudden, I'm now figuring out what kind of a designer you'd be and what I'd use you for. Editorial, I'm thinking like magazine. I'm thinking really fun stuff that, like, I need someone to be super creative with type and texture. And I know that's kind of like your tagline. Yep. So that's really great. Okay, this is, we got a video playing. Cool. Same program or something totally different?
Different campaign.
Good. Okay, cool. Love the back to school. Love this vibe. This is fun. Cool. Then we get into this. Beautiful. Now I'm starting to see a refined version of you, because I'm feeling like everything else had fun. They almost said, Andrew, go for it. Do whatever you want. This feels like more intentional, more art directed, meaning like you are sticking to something very, very strict with this, and it's looking much better.
Yep. And someone, sorry, real quick, is asking, why do I use Google Slides? I use Google Slides so that I can curate presentations really quickly. So instead of saying, here's my site or here's my portfolio, look at everything, if I'm sending it to a specific client, I can say, here's the presentation. And Nick saw on that first slide, I have a little tab that says like, welcome to your presentation. Go ahead and click that present and then scroll through to start your journey or whatever.
Yes.
And that way I can curate specifically to that client. So that's why I use this.
Yeah, perfect. This I really dig. I love just the idea of like, it feels like some profile picture comes to life, and I love that. That's really, really kind of fun.
Super SNL inspired.
Yep. Oh, totally. I'm seeing a bit of the idea that you love working with education, you love working with organizations. So I feel like that would be your strong kind of thing, to be like what your title might be at the very top. Very cool. Again, this is a good blend of the risk, the color, the type, and still being very kind of, you know, I don't want to say corporate, but you're obviously keeping to a very unique style guide and everything cool there. Nice to see good extensions of the brand here, showing me what this could look like here. You got the kind of hierarchy onto the left with all the different versions of the school. I love that. Then new project. This
hard left
is getting way different. I love it, but very, very cool. This to me is like the fun stuff that I get jealous about, because I love seeing this kind of work, and I love the way it's even being shown here. Like, to me, this is the most unstable page, and yet it's my favorite. Like, so because you already told me who you're going to be in this world as designer, I feel like this one has a success going, because I'm seeing you throw things off the edge. And in others where you were staying pretty close to it, I almost felt like it was being refrained to like be like, you were like containing it in
which is interesting, because you said that earlier, that you're like, it feels like it's all being like too contained, and then it starts to explode,
and now like, the energy.
Yeah.
So I wonder too, is if maybe like with half of your page going off, but then parts of it being very structured and clean. I think what I'm starting to see is your art is great. I wonder if the presentation of your art could be more creative as you're doing it with these individual elements.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm assuming new project, which is great. Good, very cool. Again, I love the idea of seeing a good consistency of everything there with the branding and everything. I would say too, like maybe what would be missing, we saw some of the stuff previous where people and faces and lifestyle came in. Maybe a lifestyle shot in here could be a little bit, you know, like to help understand a little bit more. But I'm going off of still the perception thing here, so we're still looking good. Now we get into some totally creative. Can I play it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. You can play it with sound even.
Let's see.
Oh, it's not going to share the sound. It has a great sound. If you guys want to, listen to it, you can check it out.
There you go. Okay, cool. So again, now I'm getting the idea. Oh, he can not only just do it normally, but he can take this into some video, into some motion, which would be really, really cool to know, knowing I don't have to go somewhere else. So that's a good little check on my list as I'm going through it. This I really love. Again, cool stuff as well, showing off really a nice skill that I think would be neat to see. If I need to do something in this zone, we're good. And there we go. So I'm assuming we hit exit, and then I would go back to here and we'll check out editorial. And you should have that same click. Oh, this is a site.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so the first one is, and that's the one you keep to curate. All right,
yes.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm there. Okay, now all of a sudden, just the way this is moving to me fits you as a designer so much more. Just knowing that this is still going up here as I'm scrolling, I'm like, I don't want it to leave. I kind of like that. These are wonderful. This is a whole other side that I love the way you're presenting it. I don't need to see anything on here telling me anything more than what the art is saying. And I really love this kind of vibe. To me, I'm thinking, where would I hire you? What would I possibly use for you? And I feel like you're showing enough here that I know your editorial stuff, I might not even need to see that in some way, because you're being very conscious of type, spacing, hierarchy, all those things. So I'm already seeing like, this is a more flexible, versatile artist with this, right?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So all this is telling me, because like even when you're bringing this guy back in, the back to school, but all of a sudden I'm starting to see like, whoa, and then if we need to do some illustration work too, in addition to the layout and stuff, whatever, he's a double whammy. Like, I don't have to find that other person. So I think part of the perception you want to obviously give is, you know, are you multifaceted? Or are you pushing just one thing and saying that's the only thing you come into me for? If you want to do all these other things, show them off like this, you know? So yeah, I'm digging this. I wonder too if like just one or two more things in there tells me like that what maybe a few of these get highlighted, so I can say like I get some idea of what context this is. Because if I saw this, I'm wondering, is it a self thing? Was it done for someone? Did it push the needle for one of your clients? Like, then I'll be like, oh, I love this idea of what he might possibly be able to do for me, you know?
Yep.
This could be one of my favorite things ever. I love that. That's fantastic. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, dude, this just keeps going. So love it. I guess I wonder too, like, I haven't seen a picture of you yet. So I'm still wondering, like, who is Andrew, right? Like, I think your personality can probably be a video intro on your first page that could help explain this, right? What if you came on and said, hey, so glad you're here. And there's two of you. There's you as the branding guy and you as the editorial guy. You know he's filming that this weekend. You know it. Like, he's gonna do it.
That's such a great idea, Nick.
Wouldn't that be? And then it could be like, and you know, so there's one of you going like this, like pointing down, and it's like when you hover over it, it's like, I also am passionate about art and culture and conferences. Here's me down. You know, check this out and see how I support the community.
Cool. So,
and that could be really neat.
Overall, looking at the entirety entity of Hoch.co, just Hoch, the zone, what is your perception?
I think I would think you've got this free spirit. You do work you want to do because it's so unique. It has a personal stamp of you on everything. And it's not commercialized. So I'm looking at you as this, if I really need someone to inject creativity from scratch and I have nothing but help me, you'd be the person I'd go to. You see what I mean?
Cool. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So
should we look at some of the other stuff?
That's great. Oh yeah. Keep going. I have no idea. We have 15 minutes. So yeah, let's look at some other stuff and then we'll do our elevator pitches.
So I did a quick Google search and boy, even with that common name, you come up. Look at that.
Oh, no way. I can't believe that I'm the only Andrew Hoch. There's actually one other one.
This is pretty amazing how these key moments in videos. Have you seen what YouTube does with these?
What is that? Oh, that's the CancelCon video. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So we got that. We're going to go to our favorite place, a little place called LinkedIn. So you got it. You got some room for a header up here.
Yep.
Okay. Great. So you got design and art direction, Los Angeles Metropolitan. So if I saw all that and then came over to here, I would be, I guess, again, the platform here doesn't allow you too much, but here's your stamp to give me the connection to everything else you just did, right? And make a cool header. So let's see your activity. How are you're keeping up on that? I see you've been putting a lot out there, correct?
Yep.
Good. So you're putting all your passion projects and your things that you're pushing out there. This is great. I love the consistency. You're doing all these great things. This is really cool. Wonderful. All right, so let's take a look at Behance real quick. Here we go. That's an impact. That's an impact. I love this. So here, I guess without scrolling, I would look at this and go, wow, he's doing all this for himself. This is all self-driven, wonderful typography, really cool. As I scroll down, I guess too, like, again, like these three feel like a disconnect only because it's like everything else feels like it's in this world of like, whoa, I'm seeing inside his head. Like this to me is like what I'm getting. but let's check out here. So this is like your live streams.
I didn't do that one. That one is
gotcha.
a shared product.
Okay.
So I art directed that one.
Great.
Yeah.
So here you got the back to school campaign. Beautiful. I love seeing it just seeing it like this way. I mean, dude, these coming to life here, it's like a whole other level, you know? So this playfulness, this tells me you could take everything you were in a dark black and white world and turn it into color as well. So there's the biggest point of what we're doing here today, guys, I think, and what sparked it for me particularly is I want to know breadth. I want to know where are your extremes, right? How far can you go to whimsical, funny, silly, young, to serious, modern, contemporary, crazy, where on that spectrum, how far is it? And are you showing it?
Yeah.
That's all that matters, right?
Yep. That's very interesting to say. The idea of perception and how you present yourself and kind of dictate that perception, you want to set boundaries for them. And it's almost like wherever you land in these boundaries is fine, but you do want to set those boundaries. And I love that you pointed that out, because I think that is something that I try to do is like, here's the one side, here's the other side. I don't care where you land in the middle, you're going to find something hopefully that is intended for you.
Yeah. I wonder too, since you use this so much and you've adapted it and you branded yourself with these, I wonder too if those get a little more used to keep consistency. So you do not disconnect as two totally different artists. Whereas Hawk.co is your home, right? That's your landing page. Did you do like Hawk brand or Editorial? Have you done anything like that?
I have Hawk pretty much everything at this point.
Yeah.
I have Hawk XXX too. I just thought, you know what, we'll have that. We'll lock that down just in case. We'll see what happens.
So I wonder, or if just Hawk becomes the thing you use, even just to connect some of these things, and then I think what it will give someone's perception is it is the same person. I don't have to second guess this, because you do have very extreme tangents on both sides of this spectrum, and so it might need the unity. It might need some of that connection to really make sure that they don't disconnect and go, whoa, like this is not the same person.
Yep. Cool.
And that's a good problem to have.
Yep. All right. Let's do this. Let's flip over, and Nick Longo, the man, the myth, the legend, pitch to me, if I was going to hire you, if we were in an elevator, you were pitching who you are. We've talked all about how I've perceived you. How would you pitch me as to who you are?
Yeah, I would say I can help you bring your brand to life through a strategic plan that talks to exactly who your customer is, and that brand can reach every touch point, one-stop shop for building a brand. I guess that's the nutshell.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that I definitely talked about all those things, right? We talked about the intentionality, we talked about the trustworthiness, and I think
where did I miss out?
I think the thing that missed out on from my perception was the one-stop shop. For me, I'm like, oh, he does packaging, right? I said that a couple of times. I'm like, oh, he does packaging. And I saw other stuff, but it didn't feel like that was the stuff that I'd go to, that I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, he's just one-stop shop for all of my branding. It can handle the packaging as well. I think, I'm going to hire from the packaging, and then we can talk if he wants to do branding.
Yes.
And so I think for me, that's the disconnect, is you presenting. And I mean, I know you, and you can't do everything, but presenting as that one-stop shop, I think that there is a credibility in the speaking, podcast, all that stuff. But I think in the way that I perceived the work, I didn't see full one-stop shop. I saw breadth and I saw a ton of stuff, and I was overwhelmed by how much, but it didn't seem like it was oh, he can do everything. Which is a weird perception to have, that it's he did everything, but I'm not confident that he could do everything.
And we should also disclaimer too, neither one of us are the perfect person to be telling you what the perception is of each other, because we know each other's work so well. I think the best thing to do, and maybe this could be, we're talking about this in some kind of homework fashion, but to have a non-creative, to have someone else looked at your work and write these things down before you've told them anything.
Yep.
So it's great that you're finding these things that even you can see, because again, it's so objective and subjective actually to see these things. And I thought I was doing it all good, but I'm so open to the fact that, and we all should, that we should be taking in this criticism very heavily.
Yep.
Because that's how we're perceived.
And that was actually something that was going to be a key aspect of this episode. Was the idea that, like, if you think that you are locked in and if you think that your work is good, there's always room to grow. And hearing someone else's perception is an opportunity to receive that feedback. And so we were going to talk a lot about, like, how to receive feedback, how to give feedback, how to process through feedback. So that will probably be a future episode. But I think that that is a good point, right? That, like, I mean, it's one of those things that I would watch a show and be like, ooh, the hosts like have it figured out and their portfolios are going to do reviews and just compliment each other. But like literally I have a sticky note that is green. Andrew, come on. I need to peel these to be the pink sticky notes, but it's keying out. But I have a sticky note with a ton of notes on it that even though I'm like, oh, I'm confident in my work and all that stuff, I'm like, oh shoot, Nick's made really good points. And I need to constantly be wanting that feedback, needing that feedback, and kind of weighing it, right? There are definitely things that he said that I'm just like, meh, maybe not. But then there are things that he said that I'm like, oh shoot, that's great. I need to write that down. So having that confidence, but also being open to constantly improving, I think is really important. Gosh, oh man, I can't get it anymore. Jirotime is a great example of that. We've given a ton of feedback and we've watched him kind of morph and change. And I think that that's part of what the perception is you hear and you say, okay, cool, you've missed a little part. How can I better communicate? So for me, I would say that I am a creative for hire that offers unique perspectives and sustainable brand identities to create a visual language, I think is how I would say it. I like to use the terms visual language to kind of broaden it out. And I think with that, what do you think? I have some ideas of what I missed. What do you think that I'm missing or that I'm...
The creative for hire was such a good starting point. And I think too, my first visual was a picture of you with a sign and saying that, right? Even just a picture. I think your personality has to live on the first moment I see you or I see this page. Okay. So I love that you said that. And I think too, maybe those words need to be here because if I see this, it kind of doesn't tell me right off the bat for hire, for, let's work together, something like that would be fantastic because this is a gateway, right? This is me picking which Andrew I need to see. But for sure, that let's work together kind of thing would be fantastic to be on there as well. And I think it would, to match what you said is your goal, your elevator pitch, that would be well needed. The visual language thing, again, is another great term that could be something on here that really helps you sing who you are as an artist as well.
Yep.
Is it the visual language of, Andrew Hochradel, and you have that as something here or whatever, I think just partitioning and separating in the right way. And if you bring me to another page, it could be totally different. In fact, it should be totally different from the other one because just as much as you said in your elevator speech, you had three very distinct things that you're trying to be.
Yep. And I think that is something that's interesting for my personal brand that, right, we're talking about blind spots a lot on this episode. That was a huge blind spot for me. And you've heard me talk about it a million times, chat. You've heard that I say, I know that my career is 60% personality and 40% the work. And it's so interesting that I say that again and again and again. And I'm like, yeah, it's like a core of my belief. And then we go to the website and Nick's like, I want to see you. I want to see your personality.
It's 95.5 here. It's the total opposite.
Exactly. And so that's so interesting of the idea of one being saying, right, that I'm segmented. I definitely like visual language, that like it's unique perspectives, but not intentionally segmenting that, right? That I want to like partner with my clients and I want to like work with you and be intentional, but none of that's coming through on the actual site, where in my brain the perception is, right, like, oh man, I've got the personality and they're gonna see that and then they're gonna see the work and it's like crazy and they're gonna be so intrigued. And I'm like, oh man, the perception that they're having is that like it's just the work, like it's just about the work, and I'm putting 40% into the work, they're putting 80% in the work, 90% in the work, and it's a very big imbalance there. And so I think that is important to hear, so that I can kind of re-gauge and re-augment to better hit what I'm saying I am.
Yes. And what's funny too, I've realized what has maybe I can speak for myself on this. What steered me into this way to even have blind spots is the fact that I'm always evolving it to answer what the latest critique was of it.
Yep.
And I think sometimes you got to hear the critique and you got to hear it. But let's just say I know someone's going to be checking it out and it's a possibility of a big job and it's in that some zone. I will change my website for them temporarily. Like that's just the reality of it,
yep.
right? And sometimes stuff has stayed, and then I didn't realize that months later that should probably go away because it's confusing the message, or it's blinding someone to understand the real value. So maybe the thing is all of us to have that elevator pitch or have that description line of who you are and put it so visible that everything you do on a daily basis, you are looking back at that and saying, am I staying true to that?
Yep.
You know? That's a great homework I think we can all do.
Interesting. Yes. So hopefully we got about 4 minutes left. So we're going to do some announcements, do some homework and stuff, but hopefully you guys thought this was beneficial. It was a little bit of a weird episode, right? It was kind of us just talking to each other. Yeah. What'd you think
tell
about
us what you thought of
this idea, this concept? And we're going to be hopping over into the voice chat. So make sure that you jump over. The Discord link is right there. Jump over right here where it says classroom chat. Nick and I are going to hop in there right after the episode and get your feedback, get your thoughts on kind of if you were able to take things out of this, even though we weren't like teaching, lecturing. And we may come back to this similar format. We will be back for portfolio reviews next week, which if you're just joining us, go to the Discord, drop in your portfolios to be reviewed.
Where it all started, baby.
Yep, it's so true. This is a throwback episode. Nick, we have homework for our friends.
Yes.
In chat. What is their homework and how can they go about doing that homework?
So how do we want to specify this? But we definitely want you guys to do the same thing and kind of have someone else critique.
Yes.
Or look at your online presence and give you an update, give you basically a summary of what they saw.
Yep.
And do it amongst each other. If it's a buddy system with everybody that's in Discord, or like Andrew said earlier, get a family member or a friend, someone that might not even be a designer or a creative, and say like, hey, take a look at this. Give me a summary and let's see if it matches. And then you write down what you want it to be, see how you matched.
Yep. And I think Marianne Clark just had a comment that I want to address that I think is interesting is, I love it. I want to start from scratch on my portfolio now.
Ooh,
I think that the idea with perception is that maybe you don't start with your portfolio, but you start by designating how you want to be perceived.
Yes.
So
if commandments.
If you just start with your portfolio and you're like, here, I'm putting the work in. If you're not working toward a specific goal, really designers are just like brain ninjas, right? That we want to make you think things. And we want to make sure that you're thinking the things we want you to. And so being able to designate and dictate those before you start the portfolio will help you make every decision as you go forward.
It's just the same as you would put the discovery and the plan together before any job you're doing.
Yes.
Any design you're doing. So do that with this as well, like we were saying, and put it on your wall. Take a picture of it. Put that in Discord. That's what we want to see. I would love to see that because I'm going to do it. Yep. I'm seriously going to do it. These were blind spots.
Here's what we want you to do. Go to Discord, post your portfolio, post a link to where people can find you, whatever it is, and then in Discord, find one of those people and literally just go through their things and then post what your perception of that is. And we'll hopefully have a long thread of just a bunch of different perceptions. And then when you post your work, also put in there how you would like to be perceived. And it will be like a group critique of all of us, not necessarily critiquing the work or if we like it or not, but to see, are they accomplishing the goal of being perceived that they're asking to? Because we are all pretty much strangers to each other. I mean, we hang out every week. Nick and I are familiar with some of your work, but I don't think that any of you guys are familiar with each other's work. So post down in that Discord and go in there, look at someone's and tell them, this is how I perceive you. And it'll be super, super helpful, I think.
Let's get focused. It's going to be such a great lesson to focus in on exactly who you want to be and how you want it to be perceived.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Again, keep dropping those portfolios. We'll be posting on social media, trying to get more portfolios for next week because we are going to try to get as many in as we possibly can. Next week, I feel like I'm just going to come in really spicy. So prepare your hearts for spicy Andrew. I feel like I've always been pretty nice in portfolio reviews, and I think that I'm ready to like crack some knuckles. So we'll see what happens.
I feel like I'm gonna be a little ninja with this next week. It's gonna be great.
You're gonna have to play good cop because I'm gonna be.
No,
he's gonna be bad cop.
I gotta learn.
You're getting two bad cops next week, guys. So thanks for joining us. Come back next week, and then in 2 weeks, very special episode. I'll give you a little hint. It's going to be a Hawk special, so we'll see what that turns out to be. But we'll see you next week, and then in 2 weeks for another special. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.